Okay, this person says, I have a two-part question. Firstly, how do I deal with a friend who's unconsciously racist, and when I point it out, they get defensive, act like I'm making everything about race by seeing racism where it doesn't exist, that I'm attacking them, and that they are the victim? That's the first part. And then secondly, how to hold the knowledge that what you put your attention on grows, while at the same time facing the very real systemic implications of something like racism. Okay, so I have to qualify my answer about racism as someone who hasn't really got a clue about racism because I've never really experienced it. Okay, I'm Irish. I've had some slightly annoying English people be patronizing to me and trot out some cliches and, you know, oh, Paddy this and Paddy that. But, you know, compared to the sort of racism this person is talking about, no, I haven't a clue. I have no experience of it at all, and I don't pretend to know about it because it's not my experience. Everybody has their own experience in life, and that's just not part of my experience. It'd be like me talking about what it's like to be a woman. I haven't a clue. I haven't a clue what it's like to be a woman. I can hear women tell me about it, and I can hear about male privilege, I can hear about white privilege, and I get it as a concept, and I would like to kind of go, oh yes, I understand, and I don't have it anymore. Of course I have it, like it's just baked in. And the world is kind of geared up for men, white men. And I'm not apologizing for that. I'm not kind of going, oh, I'm a self-hating kind of white man or anything like that. But it is the way it is, right? So I can't speak to racism in that way of like, okay, well, here's what to do with your unconsciously racist friend. Okay? But what I do know about is consciousness and the mystery and things that take me away from who I am. And it really doesn't matter what it is. And that's not to discount any kind of pain that a person has. But I've talked to people like who've been, had kind of childhood abuse, okay? And they're sort of talking to you for a while like, well, you don't understand, because it didn't happen to you, until I kind of go, well, it actually did happen to me. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, whatever. But either way, it comes back to, if something outside you, something in existence bothers you, on the inside, it's a trigger. So let's say something happens outside me. Whenever this happens, I get very upset. I get very angry, or I get very sad, or I get very, doesn't matter what it is. And if I know that my true nature is not that, if I know that my true nature is not anger, if I know that my true nature is not sadness, or whatever it is, then something outside me is pointing the way towards a bit of unconsciousness that's helping me to let go of it, I suppose. It sort of reminds me of the story about I don't know whether it was a Zen monk. It's always a Zen monk in these stories, isn't it? Old guy. And this young woman knocks on his door in the middle of the night and says, I need your help. I need somewhere to stay. And he goes, what does he say? He says, basically says, okay. And she comes in, she stays with him for a little while, and then out of the blue, she's just gone. And he's, goes, oh, okay. Then a couple of months later, his the young woman's family appear and go, how dare you? You slept with this woman, and now she's pregnant, and she says you're the father. And he goes, okay. And then, a couple of months later, they show up with the baby and go, it's your baby, you've got to take care of it. And he goes, okay. and he takes care of the baby for a while, a couple of years, and loves the child, and feeds it, clothes it, does all the things. And then the parents of the woman show up again, somewhat penitently, and say, well, it turns out that our daughter, it turns out you're not the father of the child. It turns out there was another man, and our daughter got very sick, and she was on what she thought was her deathbed, and she finally admitted it. She said, oh, the teacher is not the father of the child, it's actually this other guy. And we tracked the guy down, and long story short, we worked it out. She's getting married, and we want the baby back. We want the child back. And the master goes, okay. And he gives it back. Anyway, I always like that story because it's a real demonstration of being unmoved by what's going on outside you and responding from that place, loving the child, when it's there, letting it go, not being moved, but people not understanding him, injustice, you name it, he's just unmoved. Now, is that true? I don't know. Is that a real, is that a way of being? I don't know. I don't even know if he's a real person. I like the idea of it. And I have, in my own experience, as I have become more conscious of different things that used to move me, meaning used to bother me, used to trigger me, don't trigger me anymore. And I am a little bit like that guy where I'm like, okay, if people, I think, in the past, if people misunderstood me, it would really bother me. I'd almost chase them down the street trying to explain, no, I'm lovely. No, I think you got the wrong end of the stick. I'm lovely. I think you're missing that. Let me explain it to you a bit more, till you know I'm lovely too. Now, I don't feel inclined to do that at all. So, as I say, I don't know anything about racism. I haven't experienced it. Sounds awful. Sounds pervasive. Like from what people have told me, it's like it's everywhere, and nobody, like this person was saying, they almost have to convince people that's happening in the first place. I can get that. And I've had people explain things to me, and I'm like, oh, yeah, gee, I never noticed that before. So I don't claim to know anything about racism, but I do know about consciousness and things bothering me. And of all the things, like I've said before, of all the ethnicities you could have been born in, times in history, countries, you chose these configuration. Now that's either random and you're just unlucky, and that could be true, or it's got meaning for you, and it's something that you want to work through. So for me, I find it more helpful, more enjoyable to have the latter kind of perspective, that it's all meaningful, and let me look at why I wanted to do it this way. But that's just me. Now, the other thing of the real problems and focusing on, what you focus on expands, but then how do you balance that with real problems? I think both are true. For me, anyway, again. So, say with something like racism, and again, I don't know what I'm talking about in terms of racism, but let's say you're talking about the real problem of racism. If you focus on racism, it will expand in your existence. If you focus on the opposite of racism, whatever that is, tolerance? I don't know, whatever the opposite of racism, even if it's a huge thing, like if it's completely systemic in the whole society, as I think racism probably is, if you focus on it, it will get bigger. You can say, well, how are people going to know how is the consciousness going to change if you don't point it out to them? And yeah, there's a place for that, but I'm talking about in yourself. If you are looking for it all the time, you'll see it all the time. If you are looking for growth in consciousness, where people who were racist are less racist, you'll see that. And again, it's just personal. to you. So if you are moved to educate people, great. If you are moved to share education, great. But I would check what the education, the slant of the education is. If it is perpetuating or kind of focusing on the thing that you don't want, then I would wonder about it. I would question myself, because it is true that what you focus on does expand. That seems to be just like a law of the universe. So it's like finding a balance between educating people or helping people become more conscious of it, or balance between that and focusing on it and kind of going, look, there's some more racism, there's some more racism, there's some more racism. It will expand in your own life. That's my experience. I could be wrong about that, but that's my experience. Whatever I focus on gets bigger. So I'm very careful about what I focus on. I'm very careful about what I share. I sort of share the future I want, not the future I don't want. So when I see something that was very unconscious becoming more conscious, I will share that. I will promote that. When I see a perpetuation of unconsciousness, I don't. But that is me, and you have to find your own place within that. But I think a good way of deciding is like, is this the future? Am I focusing on the future I want or not? Because the hard question is, can you let it change? Can you let it change without needing retribution? Can you let it change without needing to see justice? And it's like, well, yeah, but shouldn't justice happen? It's like, yes, but if you're focused on getting justice for a thing that you don't want to be in the future, it sort of makes it bigger again, inadvertently. And it requires you to to sort of find it in yourself of like, can I get justice without focusing on the problem? If you can, great, but it's tricky. And I don't think I could do that personally, but then that could be just the limitations of me. I think if I was trying to get justice for something, like there are lots of things I could try and seek justice about, but I kind of know that the fight would consume me. And it would take away my joy. It would take me away from who I am. And it's not worth it to me. And that through watching the mystery doing its thing, everything gets taken care of. Mightn't look like it initially, but it's amazing how everything gets taken care of. Not necessarily talking about karma, because people often use karma like a blunt instrument. They'll be like, yeah, karma's gonna get you. How tight that makes people on the inside of like, well, I can't see the justice, but the mystery's gonna get you, or God is gonna get you. That's not helpful to you. I mean, it might be true, and like there's probably a Zen thing again of, if you sit quietly by the river for long enough, you'll see the body of your enemy float by, which, it's pretty cold, isn't it? But I've spent a lot of my life sitting quietly, not necessarily by the river waiting for the body of my enemy to float by, but I've seen quite a few bodies of my enemies float by, and you'd think I would be on the side of the river going, yeah, I knew you'd get it. I knew karma would get you, you bastard. I never feel like that. Haven't yet felt like that. And I've got very good reason, I would have very good reason to do that, but I don't. I'm always sad. I'm always like, when you see somebody reap their unconsciousness overtakes them, and they're dealing with the consequences of it, I never feel good about that. Now, so I kind of look at it from that kind of perspective of, yes, I could go for justice, I could focus on justice, but I don't think I'm capable of doing that without making the thing that I'm focused on bigger. But that's just my configuration. You have to look inside yourself and go, well, how am I wired here? What am I capable of? And then be true to that if you can. It's not easy though. There is a justice in the mystery if you can trust it.